Today I'm going to be taking you through how to create a mini globe theater. So it looks a little bit like this when it's finished. Ooh. Let's start that again. Today I'm going to be taking you through how to build a mini globe theater. So your finished product looks like this. This one's a little squished. But we're going to be building it from the ground up. So let me take you over a list of things that you're going to need first. You are going to want to have the template model that you have in front of you. Color pencils or thin line markers, both of them work pretty well. So I use both. I've used both in the past. The thin line markers, the ones that have the really extremely fine point, are really handy for that. But color pencils, you want to make sure that they're really sharp. You're going to need some scissors. I use some sewing shears that look kind of like this, that have a nice sharp point, but you're going to want anything, you want sharp scissors, so don't like school scissors, like the ones that are dulled on the end. You have liquid school glue. You want to make sure that you use, it doesn't necessarily have to be Elmer's school glue, but you can use like the white school glue. You do not want to use glue sticks because they will not hold up the way that you need them to. And then I also use a long Q-tip for two purposes. The first purpose is that has the little Q-tip in, so you can use the glue, and then the stick part itself is really handy for helping hold things into place. And so I always have two of those kind of handy when I'm making my model. Okay, so the first thing that we're going to look at is the color pattern in the cutting for the diagram. So if you want to make it completely like it is originally, like the original structure of the Globe Theater, I have it for you here kind of colored. These pieces here, Callie Freeman, please report to me. These pieces right here are outside wall. So you have this long piece, and then this little tiny section that's at the top of the roof of your thing that get the outside wall treatment. And so all I tell my students usually to do is to leave the white or the gray of the photocopy of the template, and then use a fine line brown or a fine line or a color pencil, a brown color pencil, to outline the lines that are on that template, and then just leave the rest white. And sometimes I like to go in and like darken up my doors and windows just to make them stand out a little bit more, especially if your photocopy template is not very dark. The bottom piece here is your stage floor. You have it's solid brown. The only part that's actually able to be seen is this circle, inside this circle right here. All this rest of this, if you're coloring with a marker, just to keep it from having those, those telltale lines, I just tell them to color the whole thing, just to, for the sake of keeping the lines nice and neat. This piece right here is the backstage. It actually folds up kind of like a box, and so it's brown as well. You can go back in, you can color these red, these little doorways here, because that would be what the curtains would look like if they're closed. But I just took a pencil and just shaded in, because there are also rooms back behind there, so it's just kind of dark looking into the back of the stage. Any piece that looks that it has like a gray shade on the template is actually part of the roof. So I usually go over that with a black marker or a brown marker to make it look darker. So those are all roof pieces, and you have 1, 2, 3, and then the 2 rings that you have, the smaller inner ring and then like the outer ring. Those all get the color of the roof. And then you have your inside wall, which is just this shorter piece and it all gets brown. Okay. One thing that you want to make sure that you do always is when you're cutting it out, you want to make sure that you do not cut off any piece that has a dot on it. Those dots help you with folding, and they also are areas, a dot is where a piece of glue should go. So you don't want to cut off anything like that. Being extremely careful not to do that. And also down here on the rings, you want to make sure that you don't cut off this little tab that's at the end here, because you're going to need that as well for gluing as well. Okay. It's very important and it's very tedious to cut it out, but if you do not cut it out right, it will, you'll regret it. You'll be sorry for it. So especially on those pieces that are a little trickier. Hold on, I'm going to blow up my screen here so I can see myself. You want to make sure, don't look at my fingernails. You want to make sure that you are cutting it fully, like all the way to the line, and you don't want to cut off any of those tabs, even when it gets tedious. This one is very tedious as well, this inner ring here, but you want to make sure that you cut up to the thing, and so that these tabs are all free to kind of move and bend the way that you need them to do. Okay, so once you have all of your pieces cut out, the first thing that you're going to want to do is to take your stage floor, which is this piece, and go ahead and flip it over and put your name on the back, because once you build your model, it's going to be almost impossible to write on it once you've got it done. So take your model, your floor, flip it over, and put your name on the back. Okay. Then you're going to take this piece that looks like is your backstage. It has a number 1 on the bottom. And what you're going to do is you're going to take it and you're going to fold it on the dark lines. Those dark lines indicate fold lines. And so the first fold I'm going to make, nice and neat and crisp, is going to be folding the stage down from the back of the stage, so it kind of sits up like that. Okay? Okay, so it's really super important for you to notice that any of these really dark lines are folding lines. So anywhere there's like a heavy line, like here, they're folding lines. So keeping that in mind the whole time is going to really help you. So anytime there's a heavy line, it's a folding line. Okay, so I have put my stage back up, and then I'm going to start with folding my tabs down and back like so. Okay, so now my stage back has the tabs folded in the backward, well, let me turn it around so I can see the backward position. Okay, all right, now this right here, the bottom piece, is going to fold up kind of like a box. So what I suggest that you do is fold down on all the dark lines closest to the stage. So I don't know why I can't grasp the concept. Okay, so I'm just starting to form like a little box, a ledge. Okay, I'm folding down on all those lines like so. Okay, once I get those lines folded, there's another line I'm going to fold. So I'm folding everything up, and it's going to be like a little 3D box once I get it correct. Here. Okay, and so now I've got my little stage, and I've got a little box that looks like that. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is any place where there is a little dot on the bottom, I'm going to add a little bit of glue to make my little box, but I'm going to leave these 2 tabs on the side. I'm going to leave them alone for right now. So glue the box together, make sure that it makes a box, okay, so that it's hollow inside and has a little bit of shape like so. Okay, glue that, and then we'll be right back. Okay, two quick little side notes on gluing that are important. You don't want to squirt glue on it because you don't want an excess of glue or all of your stuff is going to stick together. So you want to really control, and that's why I always use a Q-tip. But also when you're gluing, I use the stick end to kind of help me hold things in place, especially when I'm building a shape like this that has kind of a pocket in the middle. Then I want to make sure that those ends get nice and glued on each side. Okay, so once you have your bottom glued, you should have your stage. Okay, it's a nice little 3D, neat little box all the way around, and then my two tabs are still folded backwards. I'm going to take my floor piece, this piece, okay, I'm going to add a little bit of glue to that little inner box that says 1. Again, controlling the amount of glue. You want just enough, but you don't want too much because you don't want glue kind of running everywhere in your thing, okay, and you're going to take this, okay, and with the bulk of this piece open, you're going to take your little 3D stage and you're going to glue it again using your stick to kind of hold it in place. And you want to make sure that the stage is facing out into that large open area, which is the ground, okay. So on that square, nice and neat, no extra glue. Hold it in place until it dries so it's nice and stuck. Okay, and then I have my floor and I have my nice neat little stage glued on top. Okay. All right, we're going to put that piece to the side because we're not going to need it for a little bit. I'm going to put it aside, let it dry and harden up a little bit. Okay. All right, the next thing that we are going to do is to build the little tiny shapes. We're just kind of doing all the little pieces first before we start trying to construct the walls. So these are replicas of each other. They're just going in opposite directions. One has a 2, one has a 2, one has a 3. Okay, they're going to fold up much the same way. If you'll go ahead and fold all of your tabs down, like so. So neat. Okay. Then you're going to fold up on the heavy lines. Now we painted these, we painted over them, but the concept is just the same. You're going to look for those nice heavy dark lines that run through the design. There's one right there. Okay, and those are going to be your folding lines. Okay, what I'm trying to build essentially here is a box. All right, so I've tucked all my tabs in and down, and I'm going to just roll up my shape using glue. So I'm starting on my far end, okay, the far end away from the this end down here. I'm going to add a little bit of glue to the dot. I'm going to glue this dot to that dot. I'm going to keep rolling it in. I'm going to glue this dot to that dot. Just kind of holding it in place. Okay, so now, so far, I've got the start of my box with this little open tab kind of sticking out. So I've got my box, okay? Then I'm going to take that box and I'm going to fold it in and back and glue that last little piece, okay? I'm going to put some glue on that, and I'm just going to tuck it into my box and glue it using my fingers, or using, even better, using your little your stick to kind of hold it in place until it hardens up. Okay, so what I'm left with once I get that piece in place, is a little perfect box all the way around. Okay, all the way around, and my tabs are on the top, and I'm just going to set it to the side. Looks like a little milk carton. Okay, do the same thing with the other piece, and then we'll be back for part 2.